is in the Indian market. Do remember, this has been going on for the longest time. For years, we've been hearing how Tesla may just come in. The government has also had certain concerns. Finally, it's made it to Mumbai, the first showroom. What does this mean for not just indigenous competitors here in India, but also global competitors in the same bracket? How is this going to play out for Tesla in the next few years? We're going to decode that story with a very special voice this morning. First up, here's what we've got covered for you through the next 1 hour. YouTube and Insta declare war on clone content. Creators have been warned as some of these platforms, especially YouTube in the latest, has come out with fresh guidelines for the monetization policy. It essentially means that all the facile AI posts are now going to face algorithm down ranking. How is that going to work out essentially? What does this mean for those who are resorting to copy-paste content over and over again? We'll talk about that big story in just a few minutes.
And after that, as we promised, as Tesla takes on India's luxury EV space, we thought it's the right time to answer who are the Indian competitors in the space. So we're going to take you into a deep dive to understand who are the big players, who are the smaller independent startups. If you're looking to buy an EV, what's the intelligent decision to make? Should you actually spring for Tesla, or are there other domestic options that you should take a look at?
And Titan Space is bringing global crew training to India. We will introduce to you some of the Indians preparing for a private space flight. The first mission is scheduled for 2029. Indian talent is on board. They've officially joined Titan Space's global mission. We'll take you through some of these voices who are part and parcel of this exciting mission. While YouTube is drawing a line in the sand for creators, starting 15th of July, the platform's partner program has ensured a crackdown on what it calls inauthentic content. That's their new term for channels running on recycled clips, identical slideshows, or AI-narrated videos with little creative input. Little creative input being the key here.
But to be clear, it's not a total ban. AI tools, reuse content are still welcome, but only if creators add clear value, like commentary, education, or entertainment that show originality. Now, the eligibility bar stays very much the same: 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. So basically, you have to have notched either of those. 10 million shorts views. So if you're putting out shorts, then that's how to qualify to be part of this program. But the focus is shifting to creators who bring their own voice to the table. So faceless, high volume channels that are putting out videos constantly, they might see issues arise.
And YouTube isn't alone. We've very recently heard Instagram's CEO also warn that algorithm will deprioritize AI-generated posts or AI tools that are being used to create repetitive content. And they're going to ensure that people who are telling real stories are the ones that find space in this particular platform. For creators banking on automation, this is a signal that authenticity is the new algorithm currency.
Okay, so to break this down for us this morning on the show, we have none other than Viraj Sheth. He's the CEO of Monk Entertainment, and he's going to break how this is going to be affecting people for us. Viraj, thank you for joining us here on The Breakfast Club, bright and early. Tell us, if we could just first come to you to understand, in the last year or so, how much had you actually seen the AI slop problem affect the Indian YouTube space? So, as someone who runs a company that puts out and has a stable of creators, were you seeing this AI problem actually be a big problem? And if so, how? And how do you see these policies change that?
So I believe the AI content has just come up in the last 6 months more so than a year. What's happening is, of course, we take a lot from the West, especially with media trends. In the West, what's happening is on platforms, especially like TikTok, there's a lot of AI slop that has been created, a lot of AI prompts that have been put out in the market, which are easy to copy paste, and that's how people start making content. with the hopes that hey, we can now start monetizing this on YouTube and other platforms. I feel this is the right move from a platform as big as YouTube that should honor and celebrate original creators and authenticity.
Yeah.
What's happening though is my personal belief here is that as we have more and more AI focused content come up, the need and want for original creators will only increase. I feel people used to think otherwise. People used to think that hey, this is the end of original creators, or this is the end of human creators, because everything is going to be replaced with AI or AI models of
Yeah.
humans.
Yeah.
I feel quite the opposite about it. I feel like AI is now going to start becoming a blind spot for most people, where and you will be able to spot out content that lacks emotion immediately.
Okay.
Very interesting
Yeah.
you say that, Viraj, because there are creators who are sounding worried given this YouTube monetization policy. And before we once again ask you in greater detail about what this means in terms of how content will look like and whether or not stricter regulations is the way forward, tell us about this YouTube monetization policy. Let's dissect, facts from fiction. There's a lot being spoken of in the creator community, but what does this really mean? It's only an extension of what YouTube was already following.
So, from what I have spoken to folks at YouTube, what they are saying is that it is all non-original content that is generated directly by AI that will be deprioritized or demonetized. If you are an individual and you're using an AI model of yourself that you have trained over various hours of data, that is not what will be demonetized, because that is still your IP, that is still your face, and you're only using AI models in order to scale your channel faster, in order to be able to release more videos per day or per week, for example. Till that content is original, till it's not copied from other sources word to word, you will not be demonetized or deprioritized. So I think the policy is quite clear, and I'm sure it will develop over a period of time. But the crux of the matter here is that they don't want to demonetize or deprioritize people that use AI to their benefit, as opposed to using AI to completely help them create content that is copy pasted word to word. So if you use AI tools to dub your content, which actually YouTube as a platform natively provides,
Right.
they don't mind that at all. They want you to dub your content across various languages so it can reach new audiences. They encourage that. It's just a lot of this AI slop. I don't know if you guys have seen these videos, of like food eating food, or like
Yeah.
so there's like a French fry eating itself. Now that's just copy pasted across the internet.
Yeah.
So don't expect to get paid for stuff like that.
Okay, so to sum it up, you can use AI tools. It's not a strict no-no to AI tools as long as there is a creative input. As long as you're putting your brain and mind and heart to that work, it shouldn't be a problem.
Absolutely.
Okay. Viraj, can we take a step back? Now that we've understood how these rules play out, I want to go back to something you were saying a little earlier, because the interesting question when we have someone like you here is to understand how you see this playing out over the next 5 years. I want to understand how you see AI playing out in the next 5 years. You made a point earlier. You said very clearly that, look, I think people actually still want authenticity. That's still the need of the hour. How do you see this playing out in 5 years?
5 years too long of a timeline for me to
Okay.
be able to predict anything. This is such a dynamic industry. I feel over the next year or so at least, what will happen is people will get super desensitized to AI generated content. Although I'm very aware that AI generated content is only getting better and better.
Smarter, right? Yeah.
And there was someone on Twitter yesterday posted a thread about how they're using some tools, which is not Google View 3, but some other tool which they generated to create Indian wedding scenarios. So real looking Indian people, and human based things like the camera movement being shaky, for example, which makes it very difficult to decipher if this is AI or not AI. The issue with AI right now is that it's too perfect. So when you show two people hugging in a video, both their hands move at the same time. So these are certain tells that people can now easily find out or just get a sense of, hey, there's something fishy about this kind of content. Um, I feel like that will keep improving. Although again, what will happen is that people will want and need more offline connections with these creators. And that's what an AI based avatar will never be able to provide. So are you someone who's just present to me on the internet? Well, then I don't want to engage with you really. Are you someone who's going to be able to have a community based event, is able to connect with me offline? That's cool. I want more human connections, and I feel as we get infiltrated by AI content more and more, human connection is what will prevail at all times.
Okay, Viraj, now I do recall from one of your Instagram reels that you said being a freak is the most relatable thing that a creator can do. You said this, you've repeated it in different ways multiple times, but is there a fear going forward that AI is also going to be able to bring that effect in the kind of content that it's helping people create? And if yes, how do you differentiate between that kind of AI content and original, authentic content?
I feel like, yeah, again, what I mean by that is that even with AI, what you really need to do is you need to be really creative with prompts. And that needs a creative bend of mind as well. Yes, you can ask AI tools like GPT to give you prompts as well. But the point is that everybody is going to do that. So, what is your brain really telling you creatively to do is what you'll be able to generate. Again, which is why I keep saying that creators that are going to use tools to aid their progress will benefit it far more than people with no creative bent of mind. Even when you look at things right now, people that are gaining far more popularity are people with real stories, people that are giving out their struggles, people that are telling us about, their travel stories, their friendships, their human connections, stuff like that is what will keep working very, very actively.
Okay.
Yes, there is some innate fear though that, hey, AI is getting so good, it will be very difficult to differentiate it. Although I feel like platforms will not be incentivized to only monetize or prioritize AI first content. They are active because of humans. They're active because people really care about wanting to build an audience and a community on these platforms.
Yeah.
And they will keep taking steps that help these creators.
Okay. Viraj, can we ask you one last question? If there's a young creator who comes, stands in front of you today and asks you for advice, and they ask you, A, should I go the Instagram route or should I go the YouTube route? That's question one. And B, how can I meaningfully use AI to help me with my output? Because part of the game is just posting frequently, consistency, as you say so often. So I just want to understand what's the advice you would give them.
I think number one is start with both. Now that YouTube has YouTube Shorts as well, if you're creating reels anyway, just start posting those reels on YouTube Shorts as well and build an audience on both platforms. Once you're more comfortable about what your niche and your genre is, you start uploading long form content on YouTube. Because I feel as the world of AI slop keeps getting further and further, YouTube long form content is what will build authenticity and share of voice. So put your stories, put your authentic narratives out on long form content. Number two is using AI tools. I feel like first start with actually using GPT right. When you are on ChatGPT, like I use ChatGPT to journal every day. I tell ChatGPT about my life every day on voice notes, about my organization, about the people in my organization, everything. It now knows people in my life. It now knows my schedule. It now knows my routines. It now knows my way of writing. And especially for creatives, after GPT knows your style of writing, you can really automate a lot of tasks and you can get a lot of cooler ideas basis it knowing how you think. So that's very important.
Viraj, since we began with the YouTube monetization policy, can I just quickly ask you, and then we'll wrap up. Since YouTube is so keen, and others are also following suit, so keen on cracking down on this kind of inauthentic content, what kind of money are these YouTube channels who are going for mass-produced, repetitive comment, a click-away content, what kind of money are they making, and what's at advantage for them that YouTube is so keen on just getting rid of this entire lot?
I mean, again, I feel like before at least Indian channels could start seeing any, good piece of money, this step was taken already in that place. So I don't feel like a lot of YouTube channels made a lot of money, honestly, at least in India. But this again happened because of its prevalence in the West, and a lot of these content pieces going viral in the West, especially on a platform like TikTok, is how they preempted it, and they said that we can't be having this over here.
Okay, makes sense. Viraj, thank you so much for joining us and giving us some very interesting talking points. Hope all the content creators tuned in this morning to really get a glimpse of what this is going to look like the next few years. Thank you, Viraj, for joining us once again.
Okay, now let's move on. We had promised you earlier that if you're in the market to buy an EV, what we have for you here on the show is going to be super, super helpful. Remember, Tesla's finally driven into India, and this is after years and years of people waiting for it. We want to ask that crucial question. There are a lot of us thinking at this point, is it worth my money? Can it really dominate a market that's already brimming with premium electric contenders? What are those contenders, Kritsween? Could you tell us?
So we do have Kia's EV6, we have Hyundai's Ioniq 5, we have BMW's iX, we have Mercedes's EQA, and there are several other options. The competition isn't just about the range or speed anymore, but it's also about a battle over charging infrastructure. There's a very interesting charging infrastructure that Tesla has promised. There's also autonomous driving tech, what that means for India, how that is a selling point for Tesla or not. Software updates is another key feature that buyers usually keep in mind while going for a purchase. So the Model Y comes with Tesla's global muscle in OTA updates, autopilot systems, but will that be enough to outpace established luxury players who've been building their India footprint for years now?
Okay, to break it all down with us and tell us whether Tesla's India debut is a real game changer or it's just exciting to finally have Tesla in India, we have with us here on the show Kranti Sambhav. He's the editor of Overdrive. Kranti, thank you for joining us here on the show.
Good morning.
Kranti, going to come to you first with the most obvious question. Tesla's finally here, and it's been years and years of people saying Tesla kab aayega. So much so that I think when this conversation first started, BYD was not such a big player on the scene. Today, that's a legitimate competitor. Some would say even better than Tesla in many ways. I want to understand from you, who would you say is the target demographic, the right person to buy a Tesla right now? Because there are so many Tesla features like self-driving that don't work in India. So who would you say are the ideal Tesla customers, and who would you tell look in another direction?
Right now, I'll try and divide this between in two segments or two phases. Right now is that honeymoon period. Everyone is talking about Tesla. Look at the that launch or the unveiling of the car and the showroom experience center in Mumbai and the way it was covered. I mean, I don't remember
Hysteria.
any other
Yeah.
I mean, only product I can remember is Nano, which was covered on this level. But at the same time, we have to understand that right now, if we just look at the utility part, tech part, and the practicality part, I don't think it will do justice to the decision. Why? Because right now everyone is looking at that car and the kind of pricing that they have come up with. It's not bad at all. I mean, that is. Well thought out. I think that price band is something where the number of options are not so many, and the customers are ready to experiment. So for that novelty factor, for that statement, I think right now we think or we can look at customers who are not exactly looking at that segment. They just want to own one Tesla.
Okay.
So that is going to be one of the biggest factors right now. The second phase, as I mentioned, is about the utility part, practicality part, and then you look at your decision in a very objective manner, and then you have all these options which we just showed on the graphics.
Yeah.
I was just going through a report, Kranti, and very interestingly, it had figures to the effect of how if there's a car which is priced above 50 lakh rupees, there are only about 50,000 Indians going for that car in one particular year. So annually, it's only seeing sales to the tune of 50,000. Let's say 5% of that goes to Tesla, right? That's also going to account for just 2,500 cars, I think. And considering that's going to be Tesla only in the EV segment. So what's in it for Tesla? Let's talk about the other side.
I mean, we can look at this in a macro and micro level both, because if you look at international market, last year they sold around 1.7 million or something. So the number is huge. When you compare that number with the Indian overall market, and then luxury market and then EV market, it becomes like kind of very complex calculation. But and Indian market, I think every month, like last 3 months, we were selling like really high numbers, and still the monthly figure for all the EVs, EV passenger vehicles, was around 13,000.
Okay.
So in 3 months we sold like 40,000 electric vehicles, electric cars. So we have to look at.
So you're saying 40,000 electric vehicles
in just 3 months.
In just 3 months.
In India,
Oh.
which we think, or which is one of the highest figures in maybe last couple of years. But at the same time, just when you compare it with the international market, it's not that huge.
Yeah.
So technically or presently, I don't think that number is going to make too much sense for Tesla. But we have to look at 25 as well. In 25, the number of vehicles, I think around 20-30% fall is there. I mean, Tesla has seen 20-30% fall in the national market as far as sales are concerned. So in that sense, India can be a good promising market with great potential, with this huge middle class, and that's what Tesla officials have also said, that they are looking at the potential of Indian market. And again, coming back to the numbers, I don't think we can anticipate or calculate with just the percentage right now, because right now everything is riding on sentiment. So everyone is looking at Tesla as
But speaking of sentiment, India is also a price-sensitive market. So,
so
people want to make sure that every penny is worth it.
Exactly, and but at the same time, we have also seen some of the customers in that segment, 50 lakh plus segment, they just going and buying cars just as a statement. For features, for some some unique feature.
To say I own a Tesla, for example.
Yeah. So one thing is that, and we have seen we have covered those stories in Overdrive as well, where they imported these Teslas in crores. So that is again a different aspect. Numbers are not that high, but that novelty factor is there. That statement is there. So it's again, right now it's all about sentiment, I think.
Okay, so Kranti, if we take a step back from this question and we ask you about the larger India EV story now. A few months ago, Mahindra released EVs, and there was a lot of excitement around, for the first time, the way they looked. Everyone was really, really excited about the way they looked. And I come to you to ask you about that because I want to understand, if someone came to you and said, where's the BYD? Where's the Tesla of India? Who would you say are the independent players, not part of bigger houses, and the big houses that are actually creating exciting stuff?
I think there are two aspects to this. One is automotive R&D is an expensive affair.
Yeah.
It's time-taking affair. So you can't, and that is the reason why Chinese engineers, or China as a country, they chose electric vehicles to focus on, because they knew that all the legacy players were really strong in the ICE segment. Japanese were really strong in the hybrid business, and that's why they focused, and that to early 2000, and that's what has exactly gave them results. But so similarly in Indian case also, with legacy players, this basically needs money and time, and only legacy players can do that. In that sense, I think Tata has done really well, and they are the kind of pioneers, because if you remember during pandemic, the numbers were not that great, but they took a decision, they stuck to it, and then they brought many EVs. And initially, they behaved like a responsible big corporate who took one decision and brought all these EVs. So now they're facing challenge, but at the same time, I think Tata and then Mahindra, these two are EV players. And if you look at the features, again, the phase which I was talking about, the Tesla phase 1, phase 2. Phase 2 will be that phase when all the customers would be looking at and comparing all these features, quality, and the refinement of the car, because now most of the legacy players have kind of matched or bettered whatever tech or feel Tesla came with.
Okay, so can we get to the features? Let's put all the cars together in front of us, including the Tata and the Mahindra as well. And really put out the figures in terms of features. So for a viewer who is interested in buying an EV car, why should they go for a Tesla or a BYD or a BMW EV in India vis-a-vis a Mahindra or a Tata, which they can easily procure in, let's say, 20-25 lakh? What's the feature difference?
So I would say it's not about features in that segment. So in that segment, when you the moment you cross maybe 45-50 lakhs, it's mostly about a statement. It's about the badge. It's about the refinement and also peace of mind. And the moment you arrive somewhere, you should make that. The car should make that statement. So it's not about utility or practicality in that segment. So comparing these again, we can compare the features, but for a customer, it will not make too much of sense if we compare BE6 with Model Y or EV6 with BE6, because the price difference is huge, and plus they are catering to different kind of customers. Second thing is that, as I mentioned, most of the tech, that's the thing about tech. Eventually, everything becomes democratic, and most of the manufacturers have acquired, the tech part, and I think 90% of the cars are comparable. So in that sense, other than the full autonomous drive of Tesla, rest of the stuff we all have.
But you have to pay a few extra bucks, right?
Yeah, for 6 lakh. Yeah, for 6 lakh
rupees.
for this.
And that is not permitted in India.
I mean, that's a gray area, because globally that's like a big discussion point. How can we make it, or where does it stand in the legal standpoint?
I want to ask you part of what Kritsween asked you again. Maybe push back a little and ask you the fact that Tesla, as you said earlier, people are spending that kind of money because they want the Tesla tag. That is primarily it. Are you then saying that no Indian brand has succeeded in establishing that kind of brand value yet? That, look, this is our tag, spend that kind of big money on us.
You're right. I mean, so that means I couldn't answer. My answer was not right in that case. So I'll try and approach it in other manner. But I agree with you. That is the case, because if the moment you look at Indian brands, that is something.
Or is that because Indian consumers aren't willing to spend on Indian brands?
Yeah.
That's
I mean, I think both this thing aspects are correct.
Which takes us back to what's in it for
where
Tesla.
we're trying to understand where it starts.
And how much of a market is Tesla going to be able to target? Which takes us back to that question, right? If people are not willing to pay that kind of money, if they're really not going for that segment car to begin with.
Okay, so that hasn't happened for Indian manufacturers, but lately we have seen that changing. I'll give you one example. Tata, when I started automotive journalism, at that time it was just entry segment, value centric, value for money car. Now it's touching 30 lakhs, which was like maybe 5-10 years back, I could not imagine the Tata vehicles, and people are buying, customers are buying it. So that is happening. But again, the brand game globally, for example, Mercedes, BMW, Audi, or Tesla, the kind of brand equity or brand game they have, or the strategies they have, that is, we will take some time to reach there. So, that perception game.
Cult. And that's then what leads me to ask you what it's going to take to build that kind of cult around an Indian brand in India.
I think time. I think time, because if you look at globally, you go to any market, you see the brand is all about stories, and stories will happen when a father tells his son that this is what I used to drive, and the son will say, or in some cases daughters will say that this is what my father used to do. That is the reason I'm driving. So you go to international market, and one of the rants I recently wrote in one of the columns that because of that 10-year and 15-year rules, you can't keep old cars, but those old cars are the stories, and that is how for example, now 800 is a cult. Maruti 800 is a cult. Like most of us have started driving.
Ambassador, you have so many.
Ambassador, but most of us are emotionally connected to 800 because most of us started driving. The first car was that. So similarly,
but a lot of it, Kranti, also came with the idea of local manufacturing, right? So do you think it'll take local manufacturing and a better EV infra in the country to get to that time where we're open to, let's say, finally?
Again, this has two aspects. One is manufacturing, which is biggest chunk of any EV is the battery price. That is something we are still dependent on international market and mostly China, and that is almost 40% of the overall cost. And second thing is the charging infrastructure. Charging infrastructure according to government sources or the data, we have around 26,000 charging points. But when we compare it to China, it has public charging. I think it's around 3 million or something.
Yeah.
So just imagine the kind of
the sheer difference.
Yeah. So we should work on the charging infrastructure so that the EV ecosystem is developed, but at the same time, everyone has to wait for the battery prices to come down so that we can make it
Can I
value
ask
for
one
money.
last question here, though?
Sure.
I want to understand in terms of support from the government, what do EV manufacturers in the country have to say? Do they feel like the smaller players, bigger players, do they feel over the years like they've gotten enough in, not just infra, like charging points, I just mean in terms of investment, have they gotten enough?
I guess if we compare it to China is the typical template. So in that sense, the number of years for subsidies, it should be because right now we are 2%, 3% of the total market is electric. So we, according to some of the manufacturers, they said that till the time we reach 20% of the overall car market, the EVs, we should have subsidy, which is not in the case, the case in the Indian context. Second thing is charging infrastructure. So for some time you have to help the industry with subsidies, and then you have to help them with charging network, because EVs, I mean, for many customers, I still feel that, many people say or experts say that it can be your secondary car. I think it can be your primary car if you're living in, just using it in the urban area. It can be your primary car.
It's a mindset challenge as well that
with
India
the charging,
needs to
charging network, I think that mindset will change, and that it'll help the EU market.
Okay, Kranti's analysis suggests that if you're hell-bent on a Tesla and if you've given in to the hype, you will go for a Tesla.
Yeah, just go for a Tesla is what it sounds like he's saying. But it was lovely to also speak to you a little bit about what it's going to take for India to get its Tesla, and not, because India already has such excellent options in the market, but that price range to get it, it's going to take some cult story building, and it was lovely to hear that from you, Kranti.
Thank you.
Speaking of overdrive though, next, we are heading over to exactly that.
We will stay in the world of auto for a bit, get ready to experience luxury in a new way. The updated BMW 2 Series Grand Coupe has just hit the roads, and we're excited to dive into what makes it a compelling choice in this segment.
So, subtle design tweaks, significant upgrades to tech and convenience features. That's what the luxury sedan has to offer. Take a look. Overdrive brings you the full review.
A 1.5-litre 3-cylinder turbo petrol powers the new 2 Series in this 218 form. It is the same motor as the one in the petrol X1, but outputs have gone up to 156 psi and 230 Nm. It will do 0 to 100 kmph in 8.6 seconds. Now, looking at the specs, you might be a bit apprehensive of a BMW 4-door coupe running a 3-cylinder motor, especially a 1.5-litre. But in practice, it's actually quite a good experience from behind the wheel. To start with, you have very nice, quite sporty seating position. The visibility, I must say, is pretty good. Now, coming back to the engine, yes, at low RPM, say below 1500, you do find that it's a bit sluggish. It's not quite woken up. The throttle response is a bit iffy, especially when you want to keep steady momentum going. But once you're past, say, 2000 RPM, you notice that performance builds very linearly, gradually, but still in a strong swell. It's always growing right up to that 6000 RPM red line. So in that sense, it's quite exciting. Refinement is top tier. There are no vibrations and only a very distant clattery soundtrack at low revs. But the piped in audio does make the small motor sound quite similar to any larger displacement BMW sedan as you ring it out. So if you are moving up, say, from a lot of the premium or sort of mainstream cars, then the kind of performance that the 2 Series Grand Coupe has won't blow you away. But what you will like is how it delivers performance. So say when you are out cruising like this, it's constantly within the power band. The power is very easy to access, which makes life quite a bit easier. And I must say that this gearbox pairs with this engine quite well. It's not too intrusive at low speeds or focused on efficiency. You find that it doesn't quickly try to choose another gear when you push on. Instead, it lets the engine do its thing and only snaps in when necessary. And then when you do put it into sport mode for the gearbox, then the whole experience sort of becomes a bit more urgent. You also have that boost function that gives you an even more aggressive tune for the transmission map. In the real world, I don't think it makes too much of a difference. You can see it sounds quite well in the sport mode too. Now the sedan continues to be based on the UKL2 architecture, so its dimensions are largely similar. It's only about 20 mm longer and 25 mm taller. But the bodywork has been fully reworked. The compact swept back headlamp is quite a departure for a BMW, although the gloss black M Sport grille is fairly traditionally shaped. We find this arrangement quite light on the eyes, unlike the last car. The M Sport styling kit further goes on to give you quite a bit of gloss black bumper cladding, which helps with the compact look. The visible bonnet shutline is a bit of a sore point, but the 2 Series Grand Coupe's panels give it a more athletic look. The sloping roofline is well done, and it's commendable that despite ground clearance now going up by 19 mm to around 160 mm, the small sedan looks proportionate. The rear has been made sharper to go with the new theme. It looks less bulky than before, and the wide tail lamps have some neat detailing in them. Now with the new 2 Series Grand Coupe, you get 430 litres, but as you can see, it actually fits a lot of luggage. You have 3 big trolleys, a backpack, and I have place for quite a few more grocery bags, for example. Now that's because of the shape of this boot. It's very well thought out. It's got flat sides, it's deep, and the opening is also just right. The lip isn't too high, so I think BMW has been very smart with the packaging of the boot of the 2 Series Grand Coupe. The last 2 Series' cabin followed a theme that was possibly BMW's cabin quality and practicality at its peak. It was a condensed interpretation of what you got in the last Gen 5 series, with banks of tactile controls and high-grade materials. With this new model, it's quite clear that BMW is aiming for a younger, maybe a more energetic, a new type of buyer, maybe someone who hasn't been seen in a BMW before. And that really shows with this cabin. I mean, it's very different. It's quite a departure from anything that you've seen at this price point, SUV or sedan or otherwise, and I really like how it's been executed in terms of its design. This asymmetrical look of the dash, especially the metallic surrounds on this kind of air vent, which looks maybe to some extent like an exhaust tip. I find that to be really quite nice. The way the 2 screens here sit, just the shape of the dash with its smooth layered surfacing, I think it's really nice, especially these BMW M colored stitches. They had a nice highlighting. And I also like the way the ambient lighting has been integrated into this. For example, it's sort of dotted into the metallic bits here, and yeah, it adds that little bit of pop and color that you need in a premium car cabin. There's a minimal sense that combines with this. You don't have any physical controls on the dash face aside from those slightly flimsy roller style vent controls. They cut out clutter but don't feel as tactile or satisfying to use as the controls they replace. You get a similar infotainment setup as the BMW X1 with a 10.7-inch touchscreen and a 10.25-inch driver's display. The iDrive 9 system gives you a more logical home screen and climate menus. An odd trait is that the climate setting only changes by 1 degree and not 0.5 as elsewhere. The small screen size and lack of a rotary selector make controlling all of the important functions that have been packed into the screen not very easy to use on the move.
Alright, that's not all. We head into a quick break, but coming up next, Titan Space is bringing a global crew together, training in India. We'll meet the Indians preparing for this private space flight as they go and train for life beyond Earth. We'll get back with the Titan Space crew. Stay tuned.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
All right, starting this bulletin with the breaking news, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte has warned Brazil, China and India, saying they could face heavy sanctions if they keep doing business with Russia. Rutte's remarks offered clarity about the potential outcome after President Donald Trump announced that he was giving Putin 50 days to enter into a peace talks with Ukraine or face what he called secondary tariffs of 100% as well as secondary sanctions. Mark Rutte urges leaders to call Putin and push for serious peace talks.
First of all, that the US will now supply massively Ukraine with weapons out of the US, not just air defense, also missiles, also ammunition paid for by the Europeans. And secondly, that President Trump said, basically, if Russia is not serious about peace talks, within 50 days, he will slam secondary sanctions on countries like India, China and Brazil. So my encouragement to these three countries particularly is, if you live now in Beijing or in Delhi, or you are the president of Brazil, you might want to take a look into this, because this might hit you very hard. So please make the phone call to Vladimir Putin.
Well, my colleague Akanksha is with us on the phone line. Akanksha, there is a stern warning coming from NATO General Secretary, where he says that India, Japan and China should stop buying or trading with Russia. Now, can we see this being reflected into a trade deal between India and US?
Arun, important to highlight that this is particularly a warning being given to BRICS members, which is Brazil, Russia, India and China. And as we all know, it comes a day after Donald Trump threatened Russia to make a deal on Ukraine in the next 50 days. Otherwise, Russia would be slapped with 100% tariffs, to which the NATO chief, Mark Rutte, has, of course, gone on to also highlight that India and China and Brazil could also be roped in with secondary sanctions or secondary tariffs of 100%. And if there is any trade with Russia in terms of Russian exports, we know that India happens to be one of the largest buyers of Russian energy and oil. And so India could very well stand a threat of being slapped with these additional sanctions. So you can clearly see this divide between, say, the US plus NATO versus
Welcome back. This morning on the Breakfast Club, we're also meeting a group of Indians who could soon be part of a human spaceflight mission that's going to create history. Titan Space Industries, a global space company, has brought together scientists, engineers and astronaut candidates from across the world, including India. Joining us are four of them. Dr. Venkatramana Vijay, astronaut designate, COO and Chief Engineer, Titan Space, is with us this morning. Good morning, sir. Janvi Dangeti, astronaut candidate and the first Indian to complete NASA's International Air and Space Program, also joins us this morning.
Okay, also on the screen, and you can see all of our guests at the bottom of the screen. You're already on screen. Hi guys, good morning. Dr. Swayam Jyoti is with us. He's an astronaut candidate. Hello. With a strong background in research and innovation. And we're also joined by Vaibhava. Vaibhava Lakshmi Ravi Deshik is another astronaut candidate from India preparing for future missions. So all four of you are going to be going up into space in 2029. But let's understand exactly how this is going to happen and what Titan Space actually is. Dr. Vijay, we could come over to you to understand this. A, tell us about this mission. So 2029, when in 2029, how are you preparing for it right now? It's 2025, 4 years, 3.5 years more of preparation. What will that preparation look like and what is the actual mission?
Well, good morning and thank you for having Titan Space here this morning on your Breakfast Club. We are happy to be here. And to answer your question, we tentatively have a date set for March of 2029. And we are preparing, we need that time because we need to prepare all the astronaut candidates. We're not taking 2 or 3 astronaut candidates as is usually the case with vertical rocket launches. So our space mission is very unique in that it's going to be a hybrid between a space plane and a rocket. So we're going to depart horizontally, take off horizontally, and land horizontally, just like an airplane. It's just that when we go up into the atmosphere, then we fire our rocket engines, and then we go out into the orbit. So the flight's going to be about 3 to 5 hours total. There will be about 3 hours worth of zero gravity, floating time, so to say. And then we come back down and land on a designated runway, just like an airplane lands at an airport. We need the time to prepare, in the sense we have infrastructure to build, we have certification and testing to do. That's on the structural side of things. But on the human side of things, we have 50 astronaut candidates that will be going with us, maybe more. And we need to train all of these people. There are several gates and there are several training modules that they have to go through. Whether it's medical, psychological, physical, and even research modules that they have to go through. So that takes us about 2.5 years. And the first year is all about physical training. The second year is a little bit more about psychological training and zero gravity preparation. And it also involves certain research projects that each of these astronaut candidates will be performing on board. And I am sure each one of them can describe their various projects that they're going to do. Very interesting projects.
But Dr. Vijay, which stage of the preparation currently are you at? Quickly, if you can answer that for us.
Yes, from an infrastructure point of view, we're in the process of acquiring certain infrastructures that are provided by the government of the United States in various locations. And once that's obtained, I will be a little bit more free to talk about those. At the moment, yes, we are securing infrastructure. And on the astronaut candidate side, we have interviewed people from Australia, Africa, Europe, especially India. And we're all getting them together to start training from January 1st of 2026.
Okay, let's go over to the candidates now to understand more. Jahanvi, if we can come to you first and understand, A, what was it like to come to know that in less than 5 years from now, you ask people, what's your 5-year plan? You in less than 5 years are going to be going out to space. What does that feel like? Tell us that, and tell us what the plan is over the next few years.
So, hi everyone, thanks for the opportunity. And of course it's exciting, but I see it as a responsibility and an opportunity. It shows that the time limit is 5 years, but every second counts in, because whatever we do till today is a whole different thing. What we are going to do from the next year, it's going to be shaping us into something that's going to contribute to space. And it's, as I said, it's exciting at the same time, so much responsibility. And like when you are committed and willing to learn, it's important that you have to understand how heavier it is, mainly such opportunities. And I'm focused on using this platform to contribute meaningfully and represent India professionally, and show that the young minds can add real value to the future of space exploration, not just elite minds. Anyone from STEM can go to space, and that's what we are trying to prove when space is for everyone.
Wow, lovely, Janvi. I must ask this to Dr. Swayam Jyoti, since you're going to be on that mission to Dr. Swayam Jyoti. Tell us, does a little bit of pressure also come into play, especially given how the entire nation has been obsessed with the Shubhanshu Shukla's space journey? Everybody's talking about what experiments he performed, what are the takeaways going to be. When it comes to space, there is a certain curiosity that comes with it in the mind of any Indian. Does that add to the pressure?
I wouldn't say that it's a pressure, it's a privilege, I would say.
Wow.
And we are looking forward to build upon the legacy of Rakesh Sharma and Shubhanshu Shukla. So they are role models and our inspiration that the nation is proud of. So when we have such kind of responsibility, I think it's a privilege rather than pressure.
Lovely answer. Okay, let's go over very quickly to Vaibhava also to understand more. Vaibhava, can we ask you, how did you get selected? Walk us through, because there are going to be audience members who are asking, how can we go to space? Right now, when earlier in the answer, Dr. Vijay was answering, he said so far 50. So does that mean more can join? Tell us the answer, Vaibhava. How did you become a part of this? And have you met the other candidates? Are there things that they all have in common?
So first of all, I saw a post about Titan Space Industry and their inaugural mission on LinkedIn. That is how I just got excited. I visited their website and then I applied and I got in.
Yeah.
And I think there'll be many more people joining us, and I'm indeed really excited about that. And we do have a lot of like task forces within the Titan Space Industries. So we will be contributing towards the multiple R&D projects that will be like undertaken by Titan Space. So yeah, I'm more than excited.
Dr. Vijay, would you want to tell us? Because if it's that easy that you go to the official website, you spot Titan Space, you go for it, you follow the procedure and you apply. If you get selected, luck's had your way. But tell us, what are you looking for in astronaut candidates? You're open to more in number going forward. What should be the qualification criteria, etc.? Tell us all about it.
Yes, we are, and that's a very optimistic take. And yes, we are very focused on creating opportunities for everyone. Titan Space is all about space for everyone, regardless of age, regardless of financial background or geographical background. So we have chosen astronaut candidates in three categories, simplistically speaking. The first category are people who have tons of experience in the space industry, have worked for aerospace industry for a long time, and they have gathered a lot of skills and knowledge and experience. The second category are people who have amassed a lot of scientific work, research that benefits humanity, and they have advanced degrees such as masters, double masters, or PhD, and so on. And then, most importantly, we have the third category of people who are youngsters who need to be mentored. So Titan Space's astronaut program is a mentorship program. And that's very unique, and it's unlike any other program in the world in the history of space travel. So we take people in the third category who are from STEM background, who have shown dedication, hard work, and have shown initiative towards obtaining some form of space experience or space training, such as analog astronaut missions, or working with space companies, or working in laboratories in institutions that have active space research going on, and so on. The whole idea is that in the 3.5 years, as you mentioned, all of these junior astronaut candidates are going to be mentored by the senior astronaut candidates, so that on the day of launch, hopefully everybody will be on the same level.
Wow.
So we encourage everyone who is of a STEM background. Of course, that's going to change in a few years. We would love to take people from an art and humanities background as well.
Wow.
We're not going to restrict anything in terms of background. And no one will be turned away without being given a proper evaluation. So I encourage everybody from every part of the world, especially India, to apply. We would give you a feedback. We are planning on getting an academy going, and we would like a lot of people to join the academy. It's of course free, as is the astronaut training. It's completely free. It's sponsored by the company. And so hopefully a lot of the talent and a lot of initiated people will enroll, and we will train them and give them the opportunity to move over into the astronaut program.
Doctors, let me just ask you to wait for a second. I want to understand if we have a minute more on this segment to ask. All right, I think we've run out of time. We'd like to thank all of you for joining us here on the club, but also all of you, best of luck for this trip. We're really excited just to see it because this is the first chapter in what space tourism and just space curiosity looks like. So thank you for joining us.
And can I just say on a lighter note, I love the designation astronaut candidate. It just makes one feel so much more responsible that you're being trusted with these kind of space missions. So thank you all of you. And with that, we are going to head into a very quick break. We'll be right back with more. We're not done yet. Be right back.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
All right, starting this bulletin with the breaking news. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte has warned Brazil, China and India, saying they could face heavy sanctions if they keep doing business with Russia. Rutte's remarks offered clarity about the potential outcome after President Donald Trump announced that he was giving Putin 50 days to enter into a peace talks with Ukraine or face what he called secondary tariffs of 100% as well as secondary sanctions. Mark Rutte urges leaders to call Putin and push for serious peace talks.
First of all, that the US will now supply massively Ukraine with weapons out of the US, not just air defense, also missiles, also ammunition paid for by the Europeans. And secondly, that President Trump said, basically, if Russia is not serious about peace talks, within 50 days, he will slam secondary sanctions.
Back with our special segment on financial markets. GIFT Nifty indicates a positive opening for Indian equities. Asian stock markets were jittery in early morning trade today, and mixed sentiment on Fed Chair Powell's fate ahead of the economics uncertainty has kept the global market volatile. Speaking of crude oil, prices rose on signs of easing trade tensions and better than expected demand from some regions.
Let's take a look at one sector in particular. Travel and tourism has braved multiple odds, geopolitical conflicts, border tensions, climate change. The demand has bounced back though right now, thanks to healthy economic growth and rising incomes. Government efforts to boost tourism and rise in foreign tourist arrivals augur well for the sector. India's favourable demographics, growing interest in travel, improved infra and connectivity will all sustain growth in this sector. And you can log into Money Control Pro to find out more about the travel and tourism sector, catering to the auto industry and other actionable insights on the market. It's the premier destination for all investing views, financial insights that you're ever going to need, brought to you by Money Control.
All right. You had a good start to the day there, and hope all content creators this morning were watching up close because YouTube's got some news for them, and it's going to be cracking down on what they call inauthentic
content creation, and I'm saying our audience can go to space. There's a different potential that's opened up. But we're taking a look at a really, speaking of very cool things you can do with your life, we're taking a look at a very interesting thing tomorrow on the show, aren't we, Kritsween? Do we want to share just with our audiences? We're taking a look at passions and how people
alternate career options and how people are increasingly going for it. So they're saying no to conventional 9-to-5s and they're really going for what their heart is indicating, and at a very early age, I must say. So we're going to be taking up that very special discussion tomorrow morning.
It's the perfect Friday discussion. We're hoping to give you inspiration into your weekend. But for now, that's all that we have for you here on the show.
Thanks for watching.